bit of what I'd call a no-brainer, in fact. I think you can see all the authorities that are either using it or are interested, and Blackpool was the same. Unfortunately, we're all still suffering, aren't we, at the hands of COVID, and which has tightened its grip, and the implications of society being in lockdown perhaps are still yet unknown. Despite this, local councils are still operating with a business as usual ethic, and I think that's down to the dedicated people that we all are, and the strong supply chains which we engage. I think I'm not the only person who perhaps firmly believes that the UK highways sector will be and is needed to be at the centre of economic recovery. And this perhaps will be one of the ways that the government can use to build back the economy, particularly with shovel-ready projects, increasing employment opportunities and growth in the market. And I know, particularly from an LCRIG point of view, innovation will be at the centre of that economic growth for both asset and technology. And as one local council speaking to other local councils at this point in time, I think we need to encourage that innovation and try and embed these not necessarily new techniques, but less, techniques that perhaps aren't as well known as traditional techniques in this day and age. We did start something called Project Amber at Blackpool, and that was last year. And I'm so glad that we actually got our hands on doing some trials early doors, because the proof's in the pudding, really. And at Blackpool, we don't really talk about condition anymore. Other than where we have to, because perhaps you still have to report on it, and it isn't to do with condition now, road surface. It's to do with what treatment do you need to do to that road to keep it in its life. And if you know anything about Blackpool, you'll have heard about Project 30, which was £30 million investment to remove the backlog completely. So that's what we did, and we got the network into a very satisfactory condition. And since the end of Project 30, we were monitoring the ambers. So we were circling them. The inspectors knew where the ambers were, and obviously we used GAST, which helps us with that modelling to predict when these ambers are going to become dark and when they're going to become red. I think even though GASE technologies are very advanced and do help us enormously with that asset management approach, and it is from a purist aspect really of asset management that we intervene at the right time in the right places with the right treatment, and that is key. But as Howard said, models are models, and there's no better model than your pair of eyes looking at the road surface. So even though you've had a prediction, you might get to the road surface and think, well, actually, this is going to last another year or 2 years. So we'll keep monitoring it. And it helps you kind of spread that funding, doesn't it, over, and funding's becoming tighter, more limited, although there's massive expectation on us as local councils and officers, particularly with the Build Back Better. These approaches, these alternative approaches, need to be considered as part of your toolkit, I think, for asset management. So Howard's, covered everything really. You look at the life cycle modelling, and not trying to teach you how to suck eggs, but in terms of what we did at Blackpool, we actually chose a couple of kilometres of network as part of our Project Amber trials. And we asked ASI to put the treatment down on a stretch of strategic road network. The particular road in question was probably still in good condition, and in fact, it's near where I live. Not that I always choose the roads where I live, but it was a good road in terms of availability of a road that wasn't too trafficked, probably, you know, it is a strategic road, and it is a busy road, but it's not like the promenade. And I knew, and we knew at Blackpool, that road was deteriorating, and it just started to show signs of fretting and cracking. And we know that going through another winter, that process would have, you know, brought that into that deterioration quicker, and probably by this year it would have been into, you know, getting into deeper cracking, with water penetrating the surface, and so on and so forth. So we selected this road because we felt it was early enough in its condition to treat with preservation. And I've got a short film which I'll try and put on in a minute just to show you this. But, you know, it's been laid and the road looks just like new. And it's stayed that way. And of course, it's still early doors because Howard said, you know, every 5 years. But in terms of cost, you know, it was a massive saving on if we were to resurface this road in the appropriate time. You know, you're saving yourselves a whole heap of money, and it was done during the night as well, so there was far less or no disruption to the public. In fact, I think many of them, when they opened the curtains and looked out, they perhaps thought we'd done a miracle by laying a new road in the middle of the night. So yeah, you know, it has all the right ingredients really, and I think, as you know, working from a Blackpool's perspective, I'd like to endorse it and recommend it to other authorities, particularly. So can't really say much more other than that, really. And you know, it is featured at LCRIG, and it's you know, I recommend that it is used more widely. Particularly as funding gets tighter, and we need to consider the implications of carbon reduction is probably, or surely should be, on everybody's to-do list at all authorities.